After about 3 years of making no video at all, taking a long break, I'm finally back into making this video for you guys. So, you have seen me installing Windows 3.1 in CGA mode before in this video right here, and since then I was thinking about installing Windows 95 as well in CGA mode. I mean, obviously, I had thought in mind around that time to create one video on that, but I'm not sure how 3 years have passed without making any video at all. So in the end, what I had to do is that I finally got the time to make it right now. And thanks to this forum right here in Beta Archive, I actually got the interest or enthusiasm to install Windows 95 and CGA. I only looked at the picture that was given here. Looking at that, I thought to give it a try. So I thought to give it a start by going to PCEM and creating a virtual machine. Creating a machine which has a 486 BIOS and a CGA graphics card first of all. So initially the installation actually went quite normal. It wasn't that big of a deal initially until I had to face quite a few issues with the drives at least. You can see with this no fixed drive, no fixed disks present, and the disk size of about 500 megs, even though I have put in a 2 GB hard drive file onto there, but the F disk only formatted into 500 megs. But it wasn't a huge deal because Windows 95 will install on a 500 meg hard drive. So I started the installer, I ran the installer for the first time, and as you may guess, nothing really happened. Once the initial portions were done, like these, the screen went completely blank and the system locked up. I tried to restart one more time and check if it would run or not, and unfortunately, it would not. So, there's another thing I would like to show you. If I change the BIOS at least, if I change it to this BIOS right here, then what I would end up with this little message on the screen once I start running the setup. It does the whole initial step fine, but then it comes up to this message right here. An error occurred while trying to initialize the BGA video adapter. So the setup just doesn't want to run at all in CGA driver. The CGA graphics card that it has, does not want to run there. So I just had to change the graphics card to a BGA graphics card. On the PCM at least. I know it will run properly, so I did the whole setup all the way through, and it actually took quite some time knowing the fact that it does emulate the 486 CPU quite well, the PCM that is. The PCM actually emulates the 486 quite well. So I did that. It took quite some while, and once I got into the desktop, I started using my CGA video driver set, the files that I have put into a 360k floppy disk drive image. Once I got into the desktop, I just used that 360k disk drive image, alright, and then I just started to um, set the drivers up for the CGA driver on the system and see if it can run, alright. Okay, so once I've inserted that disk image, I tried to load in all the drivers and then I restarted the computer to see this. So what's happening here is that the Windows is still assuming that I'm still using the BJ graphics card to at least load the 16 color set. But obviously that's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to load the at least the CJ monochrome mode, alright, if it's using the high resolution one. But the problem is that it does not do that. So I just ended up having to switch gears a bit, alright. And yes, I did try to change the graphics mode to CGA, and as you may guess, it does not want to even do anything at all while booting to CGA mode, right? I changed the graphics card to CGA and it still doesn't boot there. So I just had to change my plans a bit. I went back into the forum post to realize that I did not read things properly. I just realized that he is the beta version of Windows 95 Chicago, that is, the beta version 189. So I just thought to try that at least. So I loaded in beta 180 first of all, and I did the whole initial setup, normally here, and things actually went quite well copying files part, but then something happened, which is this one. For some reason, it just didn't find the file required there. I thought it was a normal file because, I mean, unnecessary file because it's Egypt. So obviously, I thought it would be a wallpaper or something. So I just ended up having to skip this thing. And then there are quite a few more. I just realized I would want to skip, and they were actually things like the honey, then leaves, red flag, logo, I mean red brick, squares, dash, wind logo, zigzag. I just thought to skip them because those are just wallpapers, unnecessary. And then the download continued, and then I got this screen, compressed file copy problem. So I just had to skip that as well. And once I skipped that, I had to move on with the download, and I got then a bunch of errors, bunch more errors. All right, those errors, I mean, once I looked at the files themselves, I just thought that they were more of the important files. All right, so they were not able to find anything out of the CD-ROM there. So I just had to look at the directory of the CD-ROM to realize that there was pretty much nothing there. All right, there was pretty much nothing. So I just had to switch my version of Windows and switch my build version. I just moved on to build 189 as the guy used there, and the installation went pretty smoothly except for one of the messages that is shown from that compressed file copy problem. So once I did that, I ignored that, and every part of the setup, everything else just went quite smoothly onto the next portion. I mean, it went quite okay until I went into the boot screen. The boot screen of the pre-release version of Windows 95 is actually quite cool. All right, I mean, it actually was quite entertaining to watch that. I mean, to look at that thing. But then this happened. This whole mess up and a lockup. And I restarted again to make sure that I was not being crazy enough or something. So I just restarted and I still found the same problem. So I guess fail safe mode, for which I would still get into the desktop with a partially installed Windows 95 build 189. And it sort of worked. I went into the desktop and I reconfigured the drivers, I mean the video drivers, and I selected this time just like before the CGA driver. I configured it and then made it restart the computer again, and look what happens. It first shows up this little thingy, blank stuff, and then a little message box of setting things up, and that's it. The dialog box, that's one of the few things I can see, and then there are a few more boxes, and then this taskbar. Yeah, this is just as much as I could load, and everything else would not load. So I just restarted my computer. I reset it at least so that you can hear this sound of that post thingy that was. So it restarted the computer. I still was in BGA mode. I mean BGA mode as in the BGA graphics card mode in the PCM. And this time I got a cursor. I got a cursor and then a blank screen with a tiny window sort of stuff along with a taskbar. And yeah, that basically was it for what I would get. And I also tried to change the graphics mode to CGA, I mean the graphics card thingy to CGA, and when I did that, the only little difference was that the startup screen of Windows 95 did not appear. It directly booted onto the desktop, sort of, with the same taskbar or something, which was also inaccessible even with the cursor present. When I put a cursor there, you would see a wait symbol, a wait cursor as you would see before. All right, but yeah, unfortunately, that's all that I could actually think of. That's all that I would have to do for the time being, and I will leave it up to you guys to help me on this matter and see how what else I could do in this case.